I might be on the run, and some of you in yesterday's videos provided some excellent guesses as to where I might be, whether I am actually filming a new Hidden Grounds episode or whether I am just attempting to outrun my own hairline. There's so many great ideas, I'm not even going to sit here and go through them all with you. But even though I'm on the run, that doesn't mean that I'm avoiding the stupidity that is around the world today. And that is taken over in Olympic football. Obviously, on the men's side, the women's side, we had the giant, the fiasco around the Canadian national team when it came to the drone usage. Well, there's something about that that pisses me off. And let me see if you can kind of follow along with exactly why I might be pissed off by this. Now, we'll start with the fact that the Canadian national team on the women's side in the Olympics, which again, the women's Olympic tournament, much bigger deal than the men's. You've got like actual senior national teams that are there. Suspension, obviously, for Canada made a lot of sense. I mean, they were cheating. Their coach got banned for a year, as well as a couple of assistants. They were flying drones over practices on the player manager podcast, which if you don't listen to, you're actually missing out on the secret to life. It's the podcast that I do with Julian Gressel of Enter Miami. We interviewed Walker Zimmerman talking about the Canadian national team drone situation, and he said that he wasn't sure it was worth the risk at all. It didn't make a lot of sense to him, and that it probably was kind of stupid, and they probably didn't gain a lot of an advantage from it. I mean, maybe one or two things you could pick up from set pieces, but you could also just, I don't know, watch game film. That was kind of what I was echoing here, too. But still, you get caught cheating, you get caught breaking the rules in such a systemic way, in the way that the Canadian national team was caught cheating, then you deserve to get some sort of punishment. But the actual punishment, the 6-point deduction that I was just talking about, it's ended up backfiring massively. Okay, because when I initially saw that punishment, my understanding was that they were just trying to knock Canada out in the group stage, which very well might been of what they were trying to do. But the problem is the 6-point deduction does not do that. And we are now entering into a situation where, like, as the Zealandism is coming out, Canada will be taking the field with an opportunity to actually get to the knockout stages, which is fucking crazy considering that they had 6 points taken away from them. So how's it possible? Well, obviously they just have to pop off. You see, Canada in its first two matches managed a 2-1 win over New Zealand, which was an incredibly awkward game considering that was the match against the team that they were spying against, or that Bev Priestman and co. got caught spying against. And then in the second match, a wild match between Canada and France, Canada scored a last-second winner. So that meant Canada was back at 0 points with 2 matches played, creating one of the weirdest-looking groups you could possibly find, with Colombia, France, Canada, and New Zealand all in this group having played 2 matches. But the most points any team has is 3, and Canada and New Zealand technically have 0. I mean, it is impossible, obviously, to get a group that looks like this without some sort of points deduction, and that's the situation that we have. Now, in women's Olympic football and women's Olympic soccer, you have 12 teams, which means in order to create a quarterfinal, 2 of the 3 third-place teams have to actually go through, which is maybe where you thought Canada was going to have its opportunity to go through to the next round. But now, Canada plays against Colombia. France plays against New Zealand. This means, based off of the goal difference situation between all of these teams, that if Canada goes into this final match against Colombia, which Canada will be the favorite in, and manages to win that match, they will qualify automatically for the next round. But look, now am I super against the fact that the Canadian women's national team is going to have the opportunity to play in the next round of the Olympics? Like, no, I'm not a hater. I actually like maple syrup. I'm a big fan of ice hockey. Like, I'm not trying to be that much of a Debbie Downer about the whole situation. In fact, a lot of the evidence suggests that the majority of the players, if not all of the players, had no idea that this was going on. And having talked to Walker Zimmerman about the situation, I really don't think that it actually ended up helping them that much. It was just some stupid thing that the Canadian Federation, the Canadian coaches and administration were involved in, and you thought was a good idea. I did think it was a little stupid to punish the players now in this situation when you could just send all the coaches home and then just play on from there, right? The players getting a 6-point deduction felt a little unfair. So I'm not offended by the fact that the Canadian women's national team has the opportunity to earn its way into the next round by winning all 3 matches. Who should be offended by that fact is whoever wins their group and then has to play against fucking Canada, because that is just completely unfair. Because all France needs to do is draw the New Zealand women's national team. If they beat them, of course, that will work as well. And as long as Canada beats Colombia, France will win the group. That means that Canada will slot into the second place in the group, which of course affects seeding for the draw into the next round. That means that a team that deserved to play a team a lot worse than the reigning gold medal champions Canada will instead be sitting there waiting to play against Canada. You can understand how if you are one of those teams, whether it be, I don't really know exactly how the draw works, but whether it be one of the first place teams that has to play a second place team or the other second place team that has to play the third second place team. I think those are where the three second place teams are going. No matter what situation you end up in there, you should be playing a team worse than a team that won all three matches, right? Like you shouldn't be going up against maybe the only team in the entire tournament that's won all three matches. The United States and Spain both have an opportunity to do that, but there's absolutely no guarantee. Both of them are going into fairly difficult matches. The U.S. is playing against Australia. Spain is playing against Brazil. It's entirely possible that either of those teams drops points there, and that means Canada had the best group stage out of any possible team, but they could very well be playing a group winner or another group second place team that deserves to be playing, France or one of the teams that Canada was able to actually beat. So it is possible to make an argument outside of the coaches, outside of the analysts that got punished, right, from the Canadian women's national team, that the people that get punished the most by this Canadian Spygate thing are the actual players that they're going to be playing against in the knockout round in this absolutely massive major tournament. Now, of course, if you are a player that didn't know about this on the Canadian national team, you are also being punished pretty severely, but you also received whatever benefits, however small they may be, from the spying in the first place. So the biggest victims that had nothing to do with this, I don't even want to say we're New Zealand. It's whoever ends up having to play against Canada in the next round if they actually beat Colombia. And that's how you know. The Olympic organizers, FIFA, all of them are going to be rooting so hard for Colombia to get a result in this game because Canada has to win. If Canada gets a draw, they're on 1 point and there's no way they get through because there's already the other two groups already have at least three teams up to 3 points. So there's no shot, absolutely no shot at all for Canada to go through unless they win this match. But also, in a do or die situation, Sun Tzu's Art of War would suggest that means Canada is going to be more motivated than their opposition, Colombia, who very likely will be able to go through even if they lose this match as long as they keep the score respectable. So what should FIFA have actually done here? I don't think they should have actually punished the team. I think they should have banned Canada from attempting to qualify for the next Olympics and sent all of the coaches home. All of the coaches that were involved in it should have been sent home, ban them from participating in the next tournament, but there's no way to provide a fair advantage to anybody else without creating this kind of chaos in this kind of harm. Right, because I don't know why nobody else ever seems to focus on this sort of situation in a knockout tournament, but it's why you don't do these sorts of point deductions in a knockout tournament. In a league, it's perfectly fine to do this over the course of the season because where you finish in the league is not going to determine who you're playing against in some sort of convoluted postseason. It's just where you finish in the league. And if the group stage was just the final standing, then that's great, but it's not because they're going to have to go on and they're going to have to go play somebody else. So I just don't think they thought this through. And at the very, if you really want to take the absolute severe branch here, you just kick Canada out of the tournament or let them play their matches, but don't let them go to the next round. I mean, literally subtract 9 points from them. They have no shot to go to the next round. Let the players play. I think that would be unfair, but it would also make more sense than what they're doing now, which is kind of like a half-ass in-between sort of thing where you give Canada this, sliver of a chance to get to the next round that Canada has now put itself in a position to take advantage of. All it has to do is win against Colombia. And it's going to be a really interesting game because if Canada actually manages to make a run in this tournament, if they actually manage to defend their gold medal, how awkward is that going to be? Sorry, I got distracted. Some dude knocked on the door of our hotel room and told us we had to move rooms. Apparently they're almost on to me, so I'm going to have to wrap this up. But this is stupid. This doesn't make a lot of sense, and I'm almost rooting for the chaos. I'm almost rooting for Canada, but it would be fun to see Colombia win this match too, and then we could have a different. Hello. And I just got a phone call too, so it really is time for me to leave. I think I'm gonna have to rappel down the side of the building. But Canada, weird spot, weird situation. Think everybody kind of messed it up.